All right, attention D-Class personnel, this is O5 Command. First off, no, you're not dreaming, drugged, or dead yet. You're here because of a very minor containment breach involving SCP and what I like to call a catastrophic lapse in common sense. Now, before we get into the specifics of why Johnson from Janitorial spontaneously liquefied last Thursday, or why we no longer refer to the break room as safe, let me remind you, you signed the waiver. That means you agreed to potential dismemberment, mild to moderate reality distortion, and yes, interdimensional parasites using your pancreas as a nesting ground. Welcome to your assignment. I know this is pre-recorded and this is not usually how we do it, but you're just going to have to deal. If you hear whispering in your left ear only, ignore it. If it starts speaking Latin backwards, report it to research. Or don't. Honestly, we're still figuring that part out. Let's get this over with. All right, the SCP that all of you chuckleheads are assigned to, 4865, Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-4865 is to be contained in a standard storage locker and is to be retrieved solely for the use of testing. When being used, SCP-4865 does not require any specific location for use. Testing may be performed by D-Class personnel or Level 3 Site personnel. All objects produced by SCP-4865 are to be documented along with the subject who retrieved the item and their date of birth. Contraband obtained using the object must be handed over. Failure to comply will result in a fixed-term suspension from activities depending on how serious the contraband is. Any objects that fall in the slot of SCP-4865-1 are to be retrieved from the interior of SCP-4865. Description: SCP-4865 is a stainless steel safe measuring 11.4 centimeters wide, 9.8 centimeters deep, and 18 centimeters in height. The door to the safe measures 9 centimeters by 15.2 centimeters. There is no sign of branding present on the exterior. There is a standard key lock on the safe door that requires a key, as well as a standard dial lock. On the top portion of the safe door is a money counter, and there is a coin slot on the top of the door. All of these are made from identified materials. The lock is broken. The bottom of SCP-4865 is extremely corroded, yet has not lost any of its structural strength. The corrosion also has an effect on what SCP-4865 is placed upon. However, it usually does not suffer effects from the corrosion. When SCP-4865 is opened normally, the interior of SCP-4865 is empty and coated in a thick layer of dust. Attempts to remove the dust using standard furniture polish and a duster have succeeded, but when reused, the dust returns. When the money counter is changed to the birthday of the person wishing to open the safe in the DD/MM format, and the door to the safe opened, an object desired by that person will be located within the safe. The person will feel extreme elation at this point, regardless of the emotion they were experiencing prior to this event, though it is unknown as to whether or not this is a natural reaction. It is unknown how SCP-4865 selects what to give the person who opens it. The reason for this is currently the subject of ongoing research. SCP-4865 was recovered during September 1992 in Flockton, West Yorkshire, England, when a child brought £3,000 to his school for purposes of donation to charity. The staff suspected the parents of theft based upon the fact that the parents were well known to be in poverty and living in a house free of rent. When brought in for questioning, the parents denied knowledge about the money's existence. When teachers questioned the student, they revealed that the money was obtained in a safe bought by their friend as a birthday present. Once the police were informed, undercover agents seized the safe for means of containment. When personnel questioned the mother of the friend who initially gifted SCP-4865, she stated that it had been purchased from a local shop in the village. When investigated, the shop did indeed sell several identical copies of SCP-4865. However, none of them suffered from the corrosion effect. None of them showed anomalous effects either. Attempts to locate the manufacturer of SCP-4865 concluded following Test 4865-C. Addendum 1. A log of 19 objects obtained from SCP-4865 has been included in the sheets that you were handed. These are labeled SCP-4865-A to -S. Now, hopefully you're reading along. -A, subject tested D-9124, date of birthday, August 26th. Output, 2 kilograms of various Class A drugs, including cocaine and opium. Addendum, D-9124 attempted to consume the outputted narcotics but was prevented. Subsequent tests to confirm the purity of the drugs returned with inconclusive results. -B, subject tested D-9124, birthday August 26th. Output, 1 loaded revolver. D-9124 self-terminated. Containment procedures were revised following this incident. D-9124 was incinerated and his ashes donated to his extended family in Oregon. -C, subject tested D-2135, date of birthday May 7th. Output, 100,000 pounds in 50-pound notes. Addendum, this confirmed that the currency outputted by SCP-4865 will be in pounds sterling despite not currently being located within the United Kingdom. Next is -D, subject tested Dr. Hope, date of birthday December 14th. Output, coordinates for a house in Birmingham, UK. Addendum, Dr. Hope's husband was declared missing after a break-in suspected of being taken hostage. The coordinates given allowed for his rescue without any deaths. SCP-4865 is currently pending request by Dr. Hope for use locating missing people. Now the next one, -E, subject tested D-1009, birthday July 12th. Output, a letter from D-1009's son discussing how much he missed him. Addendum, D-1009 had an explicit fear about the safety of his son. He was allowed to keep the letter to maintain a calm state. Next is -F, subject tested D-1034, birth date September 18th. Output, a complete set of false teeth made from stainless steel. Addendum, D-1034 was not allowed to keep them despite his various protests, as his previous false teeth were wearing away. A new set of teeth were subsequently made following this. Next is -G, subject tested D-1034, birthday September 18th. Output, a DVD copy of a previously unknown snuff film involving the murder and cannibalism of 5 girls estimated to be under the age of 6. Addendum, while watching the footage, each of the researchers were noted to feel extreme euphoria despite the graphic content they were viewing. After observation, they all requested amnestics, citing vivid auditory hallucinations while watching the footage. Next is -H, subject tested, D-1034, birth date September 18th. Output, a kilogram of various confectionery items. Addendum, each of the items were tested, which returned them as safe to consume and were promptly divided between the various researchers and other site personnel. How nice. Next is -I, subject tested D-1034, birth date September 18th. Output, a confectionery item covered in powder. I wonder what that could be. Addendum, the researchers upon testing -I were subjected to severe poisoning by fluorine gas. See what I mean? That's why we don't eat unlabeled shit around here. 2 of the 3 researchers were severely injured as a result. -J, subject tested D-1034, birth date September 18th. Output, a large vial of arsenic. Addendum, D-1034 successfully consumed the arsenic. However, researchers were able to stabilize the subject until medical personnel arrived. Testing involving D-1034 was permanently suspended. Next is -K, subject tested, Dr. Alice. Birth date December 22nd. Output, a turtle shell. After examination, Dr. Alice was allowed to take this home. It remains there, currently a decoration in his son's bedroom. Next is -L, subject tested, Dr. Tong. Birth date, May 28th. Output, a small box containing a wedding ring. Addendum, the ring was identified as Dr. Tong's own wedding ring, which he lost while cleaning his house. Next is -M, subject tested, Dr. Square. Birth date, September 19th. Output, a standard level 3 key card. Addendum, Dr. Square had lost his key card at the time and was concerned about being reprimanded for doing so. Following this, containment procedures were revised to prevent SCP-4865 from being used to find lost objects. Next is -N, subject tested, D-8235, birth date January 31st. Output, an electric toothbrush. Addendum, upon the toothbrush being observed, D-8235 proceeded to brush her teeth without any explanation. When questioned, she said that the fat man, a figment of her imagination, had ordered her to do so. Next is -O, subject tested, D-2003, birth date October 11th. Output, a list of numbers reading 21, 29, 15, 18, 23, and 53. Addendum, these numbers were later discovered to be the winning lottery numbers for the draw on the same day, albeit 17 minutes prior. Next is -P, subject tested, D-2003, birth date October 11th. Output, a model of a Boeing 767 constructed from plastic and painted with acrylics. Addendum, upon throwing the plane, researchers discovered it flew a lot farther than expected. The longest distance recorded measured is 197 meters. Next is -Q, subject tested, D-2003, birth date October 11th. Output, one toffee apple coated in popping candy. Addendum, this item was confirmed to be safe and returned to D-2003, who had been requesting it for several hours. Upon consuming a small section of the toffee apple, D-2003's mouth exploded and tore the skin at the cheeks. Upon examination of the popping candy, high quantities of cesium were discovered. It is presumed that when saliva came into contact with the element, it reacted. There is no known reason as to why the popping candy contained this element, nor for how it was not detected. Next is -R, subject tested, Dr. Square, birth date September 19th. Output, a digital camera with several SD cards. Addendum, there was no footage on the SD cards nor on the camera. There was a small note on the camera reading, when the walls fall, take a shot. Next is -S, subject tested, D-1987, birth date January 3rd. Output, a skinned dog's ear containing a large volume of pus and blood. Addendum, the blood emitted a sweet aroma and was later discovered to contain scents from various air freshening products. Now, Addendum 2. In August of 2014, researchers approved the test in which a camera would be placed in SCP-4865 to observe if anything appeared in the interior of SCP-4865 during that time. The camera was inserted by D-1095, who also monitored the footage as a precaution and to ensure that he could retrieve the camera afterwards. During this time, he was monitored by Dr. The following file contains a transcript of the conversation between the both of them. Begin log, 4:38 p.m. Dr. From now on, I'll just call him Doctor, as to save the other D-class who have to edit this shit. Doctor, D-1095, do you hear me? 1095. Yes, sir. Doctor, can you please insert the camera into the safe in the manner we asked you to? Once that is done, please seal the door. 1095. Okay? Done. I just watched the footage from it, right? Doctor, that is correct. Can you please describe if anything appears on the footage? 1095. I will do. At this point, several minutes of silence pass as 1095 stares at the screen. Doctor, has anything occurred yet that is out of the ordinary? 1095. Wait a second. Yes. Something seems to be stirring in the left half of the screen. Doctor, could you please describe it? 1095. It seems to be No, it can't be. Doctor, what is the problem? D-1095. 1095. There are fucking eyes in the safe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 eyes all staring at the screen. Doctor, could you please describe them in more detail? 1095. Yes, they're quite large and bulging, like they're filled with some sort of liquid. They appear to be bloodshot. Doctor, okay. Aside from staring at the 1095, holy shit. Doctor, what is it? 1095. The central one appears to be smiling at the camera. Doctor, what do you mean by that? 1095. The pupil dilated in the shape of a smile. It looks quite menacing. You know the creepy smiles that the villains give in horror movies? Just like that. Doctor, okay, just let me know if there's any change to this. 1095. Wait. They seem to be fading. There's a light shining behind the camera. Fuck, why can't we turn this around? Doctor, please tell me when they're gone. Shit, we need something that can move. 1095. And they've all vanished. That light is going to end log 4:55 p.m. Closing statement. Shortly thereafter, the camera lost all of its power. When retrieved, D-1095 discovered that the contents of the camera had been disassembled and neatly laid out on the floor of SCP-4865. Addendum 3. In October of 2014, researchers approved the test in which a small remote-controlled vehicle would be placed within SCP-4865 in order to observe the light and if it led anywhere. The camera was monitored by Dr. who also instructed where the vehicle was to move to. The following is a file relating to the test. Now, the camera shows only darkness for 1 minute. Following this, the screen turns white momentarily, and then a small hallway with no lighting present becomes visible. The vehicle exits SCP-4865 and traverses the hallway into an adjacent room. The room contains many tables to which several naked Caucasian males and females sit, working on several different objects. They do not notice the camera. After several minutes, 2 of the people begin conversing. During the conversation, their names are stated as Barbara and Timothy. Now I have an excerpt here for you. Timothy, Barbara, how's your work going? Barbara, shut up, you bitch. It's your fault that I'm even here. Timothy, forget that, Barbara. I was sentenced to this. If I hadn't told them what I told you, I would have been in here for the rest of my life. Barbara, of course. Selfish Timothy couldn't spend his life to rot in something that he belonged to. He had to make other innocent people join him. Timothy, shut up. At this point, several figures enter the room from a back door. It was noted that each of these men were black and carrying heavy tools and handcuffs. During the conversation, the person leading them is referred to as Saint Milo. The vehicle was hidden under a table at this point in time. Saint Milo. Fuck you guys talking about? Timothy, nothing Saint Milo. Saint Milo, is that so? Well then, could you please stand up? Timothy, why? Saint Milo, because I told you to. Timothy, fine, Saint Milo. Saint Milo, good boy. I want a demonstration to our friends from the other side. Because you decided to speak up, I want you to showcase what we are. So, show your creations. Timothy. Okay, Saint Milo. At this point, Timothy lifted up several objects, many of which appeared similar to the objects that SCP-4865 has outputted. Shortly following this, several other people hauled him into a back room. Saint Milo picked up the vehicle and placed it in SCP-4865. When retrieved, the vehicle came with a note requesting a meeting with anyone on the other side by means of digital cameras. Addendum 4. In December of 2014, researchers approved a supposedly final test in which a meeting between Dr. and Saint Milo through cameras would occur. This would involve Dr. asking several questions about how SCP-4865 operates. Now this is test 4865C. Once the camera and monitor were inserted and the door shut, St. Milo almost immediately picked up the objects and carried them to a private office. There he sat down and began conversing almost immediately with Dr. Deleted. St. Milo, I'm assuming you can hear me, right? Doctor, of course. Now, St. Milo, I do believe that is your name. Would you mind answering a few questions? St. Milo, yeah, sure. I have no questions to ask you. We've seen enough. Doctor, that is fine. Firstly, do you know where you are? St. Milo, we're in the same world as you. And then bad times came. Many people died, and many more suffered. I found a sacred chest, one of myth, and I asked for safety. So it gave me what I wanted and brought me here. Shortly afterwards, many people from different periods of time arrived here. We were kept safe, and in return, we do what it wants. Doctor, you mean that the sacred chest is the safe? St. Milo, no. There is no shape-shifting. Whenever the previous version of it gets destroyed, a different storage object will gain its abilities. We don't know the details of it, only the basics. Doctor, earlier you referenced that you do what it wants. Could you explain that in a little bit more detail? St. Milo, we receive requirements by the Watchers, the eyes that appear everywhere. They tell us to make what they want us to, long in advance, and then in return, we get to stay here. Otherwise, he punishes us. I was placed in charge of them after a while, and I run it with an iron fist. Doctor, you do understand, St. Milo, that is known as slavery. St. Milo, you have a problem with that? Doctor, of course, that has long since been made illegal across the world, and I could never promote it. Surely even you must understand that it's wrong. St. Milo, you must be joking. We've seen what your company does. You take people and use them in horrific experiments. They beg for death and to be put out of their misery, and we never do anything that harsh. Doctor, then you would know that the people we use have been sentenced to death in a democratic way. We didn't force them to commit the act that brought them here. St. Milo, what the fuck are you talking about? These people also caused pain and suffering and hunted for refuge from the guilt they felt. Remember that, Timothy? You won't believe what he did. He raped and murdered 8 innocent women alongside his wife. You are no better than we are. Doctor, you make us sound like a cruel group, but we are far from it. We're only cold because that is the safest way to be. Imagine if every monster you ever had nightmares about suddenly rose from the ground and devoured the universe. Being kind will not get you far in the dark realm we exist in. St. Milo, it is clear to me that you are not worth conversing with. You're hypocritical, and you think you're far better than any of us in whatever hellhole we live in. You know what? We're going to wait until you use the safe next time. When we do, we will give you not what you want, but what you need. You need to see what we suffer with. And you will. End log. At this point, the camera feed stopped working and the audio feed cut off. Nobody is sure as to how this happened. Dr. Deleted has requested that his name be removed from any document regarding SCP-4865 due to the constant fear he now feels around it. Addendum 5. In March of 2015, researchers decided to revoke their previous statement that Test 4865C was to be the final one conducted on the item, and approved the test to inspect the corrosion on SCP-4865. Dr. Nitz was designated to monitor the experiment, which would involve a segment of corrosion which had been removed from the previous locker SCP-4865 was contained in, being applied to various objects, including human skin, to ensure the safety during cleaning processes. Now, this is Test 4865D. Dr. Nitz first inspected each object. These were each confirmed to be undamaged. Following this, Dr. Nitz returned to an observation room while he designated Class D personnel. D-8032 was given a sample of the corroded material from SCP-4865. It was successfully applied to each object. He was then instructed to apply the final segment of material to his own forearm. He did as instructed and agreed to perform an audio recording to monitor his emotions and any anomalous results that occurred as a result of the corrosion from SCP-4865. Begin log. Dr. Nitz. Okay, D-8032, glad you could engage in this interview during the test. How you feeling? 8032, pretty normal, at the moment at least. Is this how I'm meant to feel? Dr. Nitz. I believe so. Let me know if it changes, however. D-8032. I will do. Dr. Nitz. Glad to hear it. D-8032. Hold on. This does not feel right. Dr. Nitz. Could you please state how you're feeling at the moment? D-8032. I feel an extremely warm sensation. It's tingling across my arm, my whole body. Dr. Nitz. Could you explain the appearance of your arm at the moment? D-8032. It's turning orange around it, like it's being tanned. It's forming a circle, perfectly around it. Dr. Nitz. Does it have a specific texture to it? D-8032. Yes. It seems like rust, but thicker in volume. If I run my fingers over it, it seems to feel like actual rust. Yet, it is my arm. Dr. Nitz, are you suggesting that the skin of your arm has been converted to this rust? D-8032. Yes. Dr. Nitz, how long has it been since the test started? About 12 minutes. I think that's enough time. D-8032. Naturally. Am I allowed to remove the material? Dr. Nitz, of course. D-8032. Thank you. End log. The test concluded and each of the corroded materials were removed. The sample of the rust grown on D-8032 was extracted for further testing. The results of the experiment were recorded in the following table. Material, human skin. Result. The arm was coated in what felt like a deep layer of rust, which turned to skin during the days following the experiment. The mechanics behind this are yet to be understood. The extracted skin has been designated SCP-4865-T. Material, wood. Result from exposure. There was no presence of wood as expected. Material, stainless steel. Result. There was a thick coating of rust, which began to form a hole 1.8 centimeters in length and 0.1 centimeters in width over 8 days. The item has been designated for further testing. As a result of this, the object has been designated SCP-4865-U. Material, Kevlar. Result from exposure. There was no effect on the Kevlar that was visible. Material, animal skin. Result from exposure. The rust was able to spread across the entirety of the animal fur in the time of the experiment. Subsequently, it fell apart when lifted. The pieces have been designated SCP-4865-V. Material, carpet. Result from exposure. The rust was able to spread across the entirety of the carpet in the time of the experiment. When lifted, it tensed up and was unable to be incinerated over the following days, able to withstand temperatures exceeding 2,000 Kelvin. The object has been designated SCP-4865-W. Material, concrete. Result from exposure. There was a thick coating of rust, yet it did not suffer any effects from exposure to the corroded material. The object has been designated SCP-4865-X. Now, following an unexpected incident in which a penny was dropped into SCP-4865-U's slot and it subsequently appeared in SCP-4865, a test has been designated involving the object, giving -U the new designation -1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was SCP-4865. You are dismissed.